all the people that plugged their phone in that woman shop, they took everything. That experience till they left us and entered bike and moved us. People around didn't know that we are being robbed. It was such a bitter experience. I can't forget that. That was my first day of seeing gun, life and direct.
It's still the conversation this morning, and we are talking about harness MSMEs opportunities in Lagos. MSMEs play a significant role in job creation, poverty reduction, and overall economic development. Lagos, being the commercial hub of Nigeria, is home to thousands of small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs driving innovation and economic growth. However, despite their potential, many MSMEs struggle with challenges such as access to funding, infrastructure, regulatory bottlenecks, and of course, market competition. Joining us this morning is Leke Ogundimu, a business development strategist who will be sharing insights on how entrepreneurs and small business owners can navigate the Lagos business landscape effectively. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, earlier I said, Lagos is the hub of MSMEs. So what makes Lagos a prime location for MSMEs?
Basically, I'll just start this way. 95% of other states in Nigeria are dependently, largely on what I'll call civil servants' income.
Okay.
So we refer to them as civil servant states, right? Because basically, aside from being a civil servant, you may not be able to tap into any meaningful, thriving business in such states. So Lagos positions any MSME, for possibility of tapping into several opportunities that are, inherent in this town.
Okay.
Basically, as the business and commercial hub of Nigeria.
Okay.
All right. When you evaluate the economic development of a state, now bring it down to a state like Lagos, what are the roles of MSMEs in contributing to the economic development?
MSMEs are playing a whole lot of roles. Basically, they contribute to economic developments, also contribute to the possibilities of having more employability within the states, which is employment opportunities. And three, as they sprout up as an organization at the micro, small, and medium level, they also pay taxes, which is also contributing to the bottom line of the state revenue, and a whole lot more.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So again, our focus is Lagos.
Yes.
So when you look at the challenges peculiar to MSMEs in Lagos, what are those things that you think that they are facing, and how can they be addressed?
Okay, so what the MSMEs are facing are quite very similar to what I would say the young graduates are facing out there. Okay, so what are the similarities? I'll tell you very quickly. So young graduates who have just graduated from a university would see an advert out there and they are requesting for 10 years experience, right? A person who had just graduated. And you know that there are people graduating on a daily basis who are yet to be employed. But employers out there are now demanding. Well, a whole lot of them are still seeking to be employed, but there are no employments yet for them. Or maybe they have not gotten a job that they could fit into, so to say. However, the MSMEs of these days, they get business opportunities, contracts here and there, but they are also requesting for experience with 10 years, with somebody that is just struggling to put a business together. And you're saying this bid It requires that you must have a minimum of 5 years experience, traceable records of about 10 years in doing similar roles, similar jobs, similar contracts. And I mean, it's a challenge for an upcoming SME, right? Because they find it difficult to tender those things you are requesting for. They don't have it. That does not also tell that they truly do not have the competencies to do the job you want to engage them with. But they may not have that prior experience. And it could be that some of them have done such or performed similar roles or done similar contracts where they grew up through the curve. So they have better experiences even than the owners of those businesses, the previous businesses where they had worked. So if you try them out with this business, they can do way better. But the truth is, are we giving them the opportunity to try them?
Yes. So how do we change the narrative now?
Well, the narrative is difficult to change, but we can start with the government, all right? Because the government is the government, and there are...
Are we not the government?
Yeah, no. We can start with the government, and when I say the government, I mean governmental policies can be cascaded down from one level, from one department, from one state's ministry to another, so that everybody would adopt it and then they start working with it. That's what I mean when I said we can start with the government. Now, government can say, look, for every contract or every bid you're going to throw on the newspapers, on the dailies, let it be that minimum of 1 year experience to start with. In as much as you have a minimum of 1 year traceable experience, we can engage you. Right, so, but for individuals, we have little or no control over them. Individuals can decide for themselves, individual organizations, private sectors can decide what they want, and nobody can impose anything on them. It's really unfortunate.
Okay, we've talked about, these young graduates, and, their greatest challenge, is usually funding. Some of them have, argued that, when they go out to seek for these funds, they don't get it. So is there something that they're not doing right? While some have also said, look, there's a way and manner in which they need to position themselves in order to have access to these funds.
Okay, there are opportunities. I'll come back to the topic again. Harnessing opportunities in Lagos as medium, small enterprises. Basically, Lagos is a business hub, is a center of excellence, is a commercial hub, and that has no doubt. Now, I can give about 3 or 4 opportunities that they could tap into if only they are willing, and they are everywhere. I'll give, as I mentioned them, I'll give traceable records to each of them, so you can tie them to what I'm saying. Okay, so number 1, Lagos has provided and availed opportunities for loans, right, through different mediums.
LSCTF.
We have a whole lot of... I'm coming to LSCTF. A whole lot. That's why we said annexing it in Lagos. With focus on Lagos. So now, if you look at it, apart from LSCTF that the state government has provided as an agency, to help small, medium enterprises grow and become better at what they do, to access loans and finances. Now, we have also microfinance banks in Lagos, where you could approach them with little or nothing. They'll ask you to just contribute maybe for about 3 months or 6 months, just to show your commitment and seriousness. And then afterwards, they can give you loans. Number 3, okay, so that's number 1, right? Access to funds. Number 2 now is collaboration with bigger organizations, African bodies, Nigerian bodies, CIPM, African Business Enterprise. I'm going to be attending a conference tomorrow. It's free to all. It's happening at, I'm not advertising for them, so I'm not going to mention to them. Right? It's happening at one of the 4 points, okay, have I mentioned 4 points by whatever, at Victoria Island, right?
You mentioned.
So they are not asking you for a dime. And you're going to be meeting with African business owners, chief executive officers from different parts of the world. And this is happening in Lagos. If you are in Kano, you have an excuse. Right? If you are in Abuja, you have an excuse, but you are in Lagos and it is happening in Lagos. So how well prepared are they? Are they also at a point where they are open to opportunities and looking out for possible opportunities?
Yes, are they looking for the opportunity?
Yeah, you see, for opportunities to come your way, there are 3 steps you need to take. Make a research. Make a research. You need to always be on your toe in making researches. When you make researches, you will discover. When you discover, you can then recover. So for those who are in charge of MSMEs out there, I am here to tell you today that there are lots of opportunities to harness in Lagos State, and what you just need to do is to be on your feet. Be research friendly. Do not just sit back and expect opportunities to come for you. Right? You need to be research friendly. Make research, read dailies, listen to news. The conversation is there. Be a part of this program on daily basis. Create some 1 hour, 30 minutes for yourself. Listen to programs like this, and then be informed. Opportunities are here.
Beginning from research, now this will lead me to my next question about technology. How MSMEs can leverage on technology to enhance their operations.
Technology is the next generation. Is the next generation thriving mechanism. All right, if properly tapped into. MSMEs in Lagos at the moment would not be less than, say, 500,000 or 1 million of them operating in Lagos. But how many of them do we know? How many of them do we come across on a daily basis? Now, the reason is because they are not conspicuously seen. So leveraging on technology would help people from the corners of their room, from the corners of their offices. Even as we are seated there, if we are given 5 minutes break, everybody wants to go back on their phone. And by the time you go there on Instagram, on websites and all that, right, you can see them. You can see them. And then that tells you that they are existing somewhere and this is what they are doing. That way you can tap into the possibility of dealing with them. But if they remain in the corners of their home without tapping into the use of technology, right, whereby data analysts these days can send you just a form. With a form, they get to know everything about you. You just fill in 3 things that matters to them. And from those 3 things, they will tell you who you are. They will tell you where you live. They will tell you your phone number. They can even possibly tell you your what's it called? Your NIN and your BV. Yeah, so that's the power of technology.
Technology, true. Okay, you said we'll come back to LSCTF. I'm back to LSCTF.
Okay, beautiful. Let's go.
Let's go. How is LSCTF now impacting, hugely on
MSMEs. Okay, yes. Lagos State Employment Trust Fund is LSCTF for the advantage of those who are listening to us who may not know what LSCTF is. Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, they are doing a great job. I've had the opportunity of training them through my organization, not once, not twice. So it means that they are at the top of what they are doing. They are wonderful people. They understand what it takes to bring up MSMEs at the lower level and help them become what they dream to become. Right, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund has positioned different people in different local governments such that you don't have an excuse to say, I'm in a solo. All right, I have to get to Alausa before I can access Lagos State Employment Trust Fund because their office is on Billings Way, all right? I'm doing this advert for them because I know they are part of Lagos State, right? So you don't have to say, I don't have enough funding, to go to their office on daily basis to chase after the loan that I need from them. So they have done well so much that they brought it to your local territory, such that if you are in Lagos, you look at it, they've divided it into Ibile. You know what I mean by Ibile?
5
so
divisions.
five,
Five
God bless
divisions.
you, the 5 divisions. So in each of the divisions, you have LSCTF. Beyond each of the divisions, you have LSCTF. So what's the excuse? Walk up to them, tell them what you do, just ensure that the business is registered. As a matter of fact, I'm telling the general public that even if your business is not registered with LSCTF, you can still get a loan. In as much as there are track records to what you have done. And you can show them that I am on the job. And on the verge of getting the business registered, they can still offer you a loan.
So there's no excuse at all.
So, no excuse whatsoever.
All right. While you were speaking earlier, you talked about the power of networking. So also, how important is mentorship in MSMEs? Because you have a lot of people who want to be the boss of themselves. How important is mentorship?
Many of them want to be boss.
Everybody wants to be Oga. But how important is mentorship?
Okay, so I'm loving this topic today because it delves so much into what I do as a trader, as a consultant. These are the things we tell people to do. You see, mentorship and the role of mentorship can never be underplayed. All right, because as MSMEs, when you have the right mentor, they help you get access to certain places you can't walk into yourself by virtue of just referring you. Mr. Hay needs so thing. I was going to refer somebody this morning, and I had mentioned that to Mr. Daly already, a very strong data analyst, who has been doing this. She has been at it for about 3 years, and she's striving with a whole lot of youths. She has at least tutored an average of 5,000 Nigerian youth between Lagos, Ibadan, Oyo, even in the universities today. So I want such a person to be groomed and become better at what she does. If in 3 years she has impacted 5,000 Nigerian youths, it tells us that in another 6 years she could have done about 15,000 increasingly, right? However, if you don't have a mentor, there will be limitation to your success. If you don't have a mentor, there are things that you've not done before. You want to give them a trial. And one single trial could bring you back 20 steps backward if it is not taken in the right path and in the right direction. So, but when you have a mentor, your mentor will tell you, I've tried this before, it didn't work. So do not go in that direction. So you get a guide from your mentor. You get a direction from your mentor. You get to be mentored by your mentor. So even when you are making money and you are looking in the direction to reinvest what you have, to make your MSME become better and grow after a while from being an MSME into a full-fledged business. Right. It is the role of your mentor to tell you what to do, how to do it, and for whom to do what you intend to do.
Okay. So oftentimes small business owners complain about multiple taxation and of course some regulatory bottlenecks. So how do they avoid it, or how do they overcome some of this?
Well, I'll start with the FRS because that I know very well, that they are trying to overlook and give a soft landing to MSMEs these days. Any business that is not doing up to maybe 50 million turnover, right? They find a way to just excuse them. Not like you don't have to file. You file for your tax returns, you get your tax clearance at the end of the day, but there is no much weight pulled on you, right? But for businesses that are fully grown, if you're doing 50 million and above, or maybe 100 million and above, of course, it shows that that business is already thriving. You're moving forward, right? So you can afford to pay taxes without any issues, right? But for Lagos State government, I want to appeal with whoever it is that is in charge of the LRS today. The idea of giving out what they call, there's something they call TAMA, all right? I may not be able to...
What is TAMA?
TAMA is like tax management agencies. Okay. They engage people to go after small businesses that are not conspicuously seen. Right? Those people will go online, they do everything to look for those small businesses, and then they begin to impose taxes on them. Businesses that are still struggling to stand. You keep, I don't want to use the word, I'm mindful of the word I use here, but they tend to want to strangle life out of these people by virtue of engaging this TAMA. Some of them go very unprofessional in the process of, trying to enforce the law of taxation on these upcoming businesses. It is not right. I think whoever it is that is the chairman, Lagos Internal Revenue Service, should look into this part of it and reduce the stress, the burden of taxation on small, medium enterprises.
I like the fact that you mentioned, some of the small businesses still struggling. And, over time, we've seen some of those businesses, fall or fail after 5 years. What is it that, even though they are putting on the passion and all they need to do, what is the cause of some of this, and how can it be avoided?
Okay, so I'll quickly refer to a young man that I saw online recently begging Nigerians to come back to his aid again, to whom a particular organization had financed his business. They found him on the street, all right? He was advertising war, a particular war. I don't want to mention the name so that I don't run advert for them. And he went ahead to explain H2O using terminologies that are quite impressive to the hearing of the people in the vehicle. So a guy called Tunde had not got a hint of that, and then he blew that guy up. The organization whose water he was selling at the time called him up, and then they set him up. They gave him a whole warehouse filled with water. They gave him a tricycle for distribution of the water. And I mean, it was a whole business. You could tell that the business was already in the like of about 15-20 million. However, a year later or 2 years down the line, the guy is online begging, telling us that he's now, on the streets, helping people to weed their homes and all that.
What happened?
Right? You've heard that, right?
I said, what happened?
Yeah,
yes,
what happened was that mismanagement of funds. When people eventually find themselves in the midst of funds that they've never encountered before.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, they are overwhelmed. And with that being in place, that they are overwhelmed, they get confused. They have misplaced priorities. They are friends, they have influences. They are friends, note that. They have influences online. So the so-called technology has its benefits, the merits, and then it has its demerits. So when they see their friends riding on a G-Wagon of 25 million, 30 million, he has just gotten 20 million or 15 million in his account, or his entire assets, so to say. But now he's looking at a person who happens to be within the same age range with him, and he wants to emulate him by also having a G-Wagon or something similar to a G-Wagon. And by the time you see them venturing into such, it means that the entire business is going to go into one single G-Wagon. And G-Wagon is not sustainable for 5 years. The asset will be depreciating. So when that depreciates in value, after a period of time, he's unable to even maintain the G-Wagon. And it becomes a burden on him. So now he would be forced to sell the G-Wagon. And when he sells the G-Wagon, he will spend the money thinking he's trying to fight out for survival. And after a period of time, he's nowhere to be found. The business is gone, the G-Wagon is gone, he himself is down the drain.
So someone who did not buy a G-Wagon, and the business still failed.
Of course, many of them do not buy G-Wagon, but what I'm saying here is that they venture into certain things that they ought not to have done at the time. Now,
That's why
even
is
as a business process engineer myself, I tell organizations, because our job is to set up your business, is to help you ensure that the business is making wave and you are thriving on the business. Now, what we do is that we tell you, when you're supposed to have 10 staff, work with 5. You have a need for 10 staff already. Do not engage 10 yet. Work with 5. In the next 2 years, let's see if you're able to pay their salaries without any form of failure. At any point, at any month, at any interval. Right? You're able to pay them well. Okay, so it shows that if you can pay these 5 staff well, in the next 5 years, if we increase that staff strength to 10, you might be able to keep up with it. But you're having 5, you've not been able to pay them for the first 2 years. And you just assume that because the business is booming. I don't want to mention the name of a particular supermarket that just came to Lagos, and boom, we are seeing them everywhere. Today, they are failed.
We know.
Woefully. When I saw that business sprouting, I said to someone, I said, look, this business is going to fail. Because this is not how to go about it.
Why? Because it had so many branches, at the same time.
And a whole lot of expenses is a toll on that business at the end of the day. Operating many branches means that you are operating different diesels at the same time, different generating sets at the same time. So many things that you ought to have in just one bottle. You have separated them to operate on their own. Whereas there is one single business that could make times 10 what all your branches are making in one day. And what they are using is just one single resource to power that business. So why don't you look into shrinking it up? We call it lean process management. I hope I have the time to explain.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, we call it lean process management. So we have a process through which an organization could operate, right, on a platter. But we now look at it and we say, okay, for this period, operate on a lean process such that what you need 10 for, let us work with 5 and see the outcome. And I tell you, in many cases, we get the same outcome. Why? Because the 10 people you're engaging, most likely you want to ask them to do 1, 2, 3 things. These 3 things, you could put it over, spin it on what the 5 other people are doing. Without it having any negative effects on them. Right? So what you need to do is to get the right hands, give them the right skill development, right? Give them the right training, give them the right orientation about the business, and show them the vision so that they can also join you in arriving at your mission. We have vision statement and we have mission statement. So when you don't show your staff the vision, they don't know your mission.
Okay. No, this is for
this is a master class. This is a master class.
It's quite interesting, you know, but now this is for people who, would I say, are literate. But how about those at the grassroots? Those who are just putting little things together just to, you know, feed from day to day. And then you find out that after a while, the business crumbles because they are eating into the capital of the business. How do you help such?
This is difficult.
It's difficult.
Okay, so it's difficult because an illiterate of the 21st century is not a person that cannot write, read, but a person that is unable to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
They can use the phones.
Right.
They can use the phones.
So the problem here is that when a person is an illiterate, not of the 21st century now, right, this one is addressing those who are not literate at all. All right? The problem they have is that they believe in their own understanding and knowledge. I don't want to refer to the scriptures. The book of Acts says something about those who are relying on their own understanding and knowledge, that it leads to foolishness at the end of the day. Proverbs also supports that. But what am I trying to say here? No matter what you tell them, they believe in the fact that they grew up under a traditional understanding of building a business. And that style of growing that business has worked for them. Unfortunately, they don't know that times are changing. Trends are fast changing. And what was applicable 10 years ago may not be applicable again today. For instance, let's take the film industry for an example. 10 years, 15 years down the line, people will go into shops renting VHS.
Yeah.
And CDs.
CDs.
That's the VHS.
Yeah, you get what I mean? We want to watch in our homes. So it means that the number of VHS you're able to produce back then will determine how much you make. But today, VHS is out of style, is out of trend. Even the CDs are out of trend. So how do they make their money? Whoever among them that has not been able to identify the next line of action, the next trend, and also align with it quickly so that the trends do not leave them behind, that person would be nowhere to found as it is today. Because why? There's what we call consistent migration of value. Value has migrated beyond that level of seeing what you sell. Okay, so their business, permit me to use this word. We have products and we have services. Has moved from products to services stylishly. What do I mean? In the past, you could see what you're buying. I want to buy a VHS. I want to buy a CD. Everybody can see it. Hardware. But right about now, they are going online. They make their money from the cinemas. They make their money from the Netflix. You get what I mean? So you must align with the trends of time.
Okay, you know, these days you see one business thriving, and you know everybody is already doing it. You know, are there still some
POS, for instance?
POS, yes. So do you think there's some overlooked businesses, you know, that small business owners or people who intend to be entrepreneurs, or are there still some overlooked businesses that one can still go into?
Yeah, there are lots of such businesses, but it's unfortunate that Nigerians are picky. We are choosy when it comes to the kind of business we want to do.
Well, because when we see this business, tell you, it is really thriving. Okay, yes, I want to do it,
You're right. Like I said, it's unfortunate that Nigerians are choosy. We are selective when it comes to the kind of business we want to engage in. Many of us are considering how convenient, how comfortable the businesses are before we delve into them. Right. For instance, a particular man once said, money made from shit doesn't smell.
Of course.
Right. Now, that man died, the business he was engaging in, that made him tell us that statement.
Yes,
right?
I remember.
Has also gone down the drain. That business is nowhere to be found. But at the time, that business was everywhere.
Yes.
Now, who else has thought of the possibility of delving into that same business and growing it passionately the way that man did it? But because of the type of business it was at the time, nobody is willing to do that. Now, if you look at the POS they're talking about, people, especially the generations of these days, the youths of this generation, they are, I'm sorry, a particular president once said it, most times we want to be in our comfort zone. You want to be in our comfort zone. You just want to sit down, you want people to come meet you. What do you want? POS, 200 naira is taking off their money, and you're happy about it. And that's going to also go out of trend now. Go and put down my words. Because there is also a new CBN rule saying about 550 for every deduction on POS operators and all that. And I can tell you that Nigerians ain't going to work with that. So it means that this POS business that everybody has delved into, that we are rushing to join, I mean, after a short while, it's going to be out of vogue. And when that happens, what are you going to do? So there are lots of other businesses that we can look at, that we can explore. But I may not want to mention them here. Maybe when we have the next opportunity. Yeah, I'd like to make this intriguing. And a bit of
so we'll have to bring you back.
I would mention 10 new businesses that we can delve into.
Can you give us two now?
Well, I could. Let me give you two free of charge. Okay, so in every street, in every area, there is always one thing that is a problem. So we call this basic economic problem. It starts in the economic world by saying what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, right? Now, sit back carefully observe your environment and identify one thing that you think you have always had a need for, and nobody is offering that service. Other people are also having the same need that you have, right? One of the businesses that people are rushing into is gas. I just remembered another one.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants to sell gas, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because it's now becoming a new trend. Prior to this time, we were all on stove, mostly on stove. There were categories of people that could use gas.
Yes.
And right about now, it looks like every family can now afford gas. Now, so we move, and everybody wants to sell gas. So, but there are several other things. I was at a particular estate on the island, and we needed toothpaste. Right? They told us that we have to drive out, get into a supermarket before we could get a paste. So within that estate, a malam that was given a small space was able to identify the need, right? And he was selling paste, selling groceries, little things, sugar, and a few other things. But nobody wants to park there and buy. Ego.
Yeah, class.
So while I was told that, I said, okay, I'll take a walk this morning, and when I'm back, we'll move to the supermarket. On my way, I saw that there was a malam, and I said, Sanu Daheki, Yakaswa, blah, blah, blah. And the guy said, I'm fine. Are you selling something? What are you selling? He gave me ideas of what he was selling. I said, this is exactly what we're planning to drive all the way to go get. Can somebody sit back and examine their immediate environment? There is always something that people have a need for. Be the one to tap into the best opportunity. Thank you, and God bless you.
What a beautiful way to end this conversation. I mean, very, very insightful. We thank you so much, Liki Ogundimu. He is a business development strategist, and he has spoken on harnessing MSMEs opportunities in Lagos. Thank you so much for your time on
My
the
pleasure.
conversation.
You're coming back to tell us the remaining
That one, you pay for
opportunities.
it.
You have said it.
Even though he has given us a
Thank you.
master class.
All right, the conversation continues after this. Stay with us.
The views expressed on this program do not represent that of the producer, management of Lagos Television, or the Lagos State Government. They remain the perspectives of those